he'd sin. And then he revealed, after people perform these 3 steps, it will last for 10,000 years. That's where that comes from Brahma Vivata Purana. So I'm telling you this so that we can understand the historicity of the Hare Krishna movement. It was already predicted 5,000 years before. It's in the Puranas. The 10,000 years in Kali Yuga will be the 10,000 years of the devotees. The devotees will be prominent. So that was Krishna was saying. But then he didn't leave it up to a plan. He actually took action. Like for this building, for this temple. First there's a plan, and then there's action. What was that action? Anybody knows? That Krishna came himself as Lord Chaitanya. So not only he made a plan, he also put it into practice. He appeared in Navadvip, and he began the chanting of the holy name. And from there it spread. And then Nityananda, he predicted, according to Lord Chandas Thakur. What was the prediction? Anybody knows? Prediction was that my Sena will come. And he will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Then Nityananda said, there will be a beautiful temple rising, a huge mandir. What was it called? Adbhuta. An Adbhuta mandir, a wonderful mandir will rise. So you see, Lord Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago. 4,500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya comes. Then the prediction that there will be one powerful person who will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, that happened. And then the last thing is that there will be a beautiful mandir rising. That happens also. So we know that we are playing an important part in history. All other speculative forms of religiosity will disappear. It has to happen. Because Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakar. Krishna is like sunshine, Maya is like darkness. Wherever there is darkness, there is no question of sunshine. So we don't have to argue with anybody. We don't have to argue with the world about Krishna consciousness. Krishna already decided. There's a drama. And Krishna is the author of this drama. And the drama is called the material world. And the writer, the author of the drama is Krishna. And the producer of this drama, the top man who makes the film, the producer, he's also Krishna. And the whole thing is called Krishna Productions. Krishna Productions. And the Krishna production says 4 acts. What is the first act? Huh? Huh? Satya Yuga. Second act. What is the second act? Huh? Treta Yuga. Third act, Dwarapa Yuga. And then there's Kali Yuga. Krishna is the author. He has written, this is already written down. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to happen. Because Krishna is the author. And we can just take a role in this drama. But we are puppets on a string. What role you want to play? You want to play the role of Adolf Hitler. Somebody says, I want to play Adolf. Okay, you come here, you're Adolf Hitler. There's another role here free, Stalin. Who wants to play Stalin? Okay, I want to play Stalin. And so all these different roles are actually created by Krishna. The whole scenario with Stalin and Hitler and Mussolini, it's all Krishna. He's the director of this drama. He directs this. It says it in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, the supreme controller of all living beings. Riti Arjuna Tishtati, he sits in the heart, Tishtati, situated in the heart of everyone. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani, and he moves everyone. Brahmayan, he moves everyone. So behind the whole scenario with President Trump or whatever the last president is, and Mrs. Merkel and the Prime Minister and whatever it is all controlled by Krishna ultimately. And it's interesting, even a plague like this one we have is actually part of Krishna's plan. And you can see that in the Bible there's a story. The whole Jewish people, they were in slavery, enslaved by the Pharaoh, by the king of Egypt. And they had actually to build the pyramids. They had to build the pyramids, the pyramids. One generation after another of these people were condemned to work like this. And they were praying to God, please free us. And then Moses, their leader, he had a vision of God. Said, I will send one plague after another. First was, how do you call these grasshoppers? You know, they jump in the grass. Grasshoppers.
Insect.
Yeah. You see them, they jump like this. And they ate everything. The whole famine was, the whole harvest was destroyed by these grasshoppers. They came by the millions and by the millions. Then there was a famine. And every time something happened like this, Moses will go, let my people go. And every time the king said no, famine came. Then a pest like this one came and devoured almost everyone. So there were 7 difficulties sent by God. 7. And the 7th one, the 6th one, he went, you see, so many people died already, let us go. He said, no. He said, next night, all the first son of every Egyptian family will die.
तो बोले थे कल रात को सारे परिवार में पहला जो पुत्र है वो मृत्यु ले।
So it says in the Bible, God sent angels and they killed every single firstborn child in every family in Egypt.
तो बाइबल में लिखा है कि भगवान ने ऐसे फरिश्ते भेजे जिन्होंने हर परिवार में पहला बच्चा है उसकी मृत्यु कर दी।
So you can see, I'm telling you this story not to give credibility to the Bible, but just to tell you that all these plagues, this is an old thing that God sends plagues.
तो ये जो सारी जो परेशानी चल रही है लोग कह रहे हैं ये सब भगवान के द्वारा भेजा गया है।
God sends war.
भगवान भी युद्ध कराते हैं।
You can see this in the Krishna book, or in Bhagavatam 10th Canto, that because there were so many demonic, so Krishna created demonic kings that they would kill each other.
तो बहुत सारे जो ऐसे नास्तिक जो राजा थे जो असुरी राजा थे उनके बीच में भगवान ने युद्ध करा छिड़ा दिया था।
Remember, Krishna is the author of the scripts. He's writing the script.
तो याद रखिए भगवान जो है वो इसके लेखक है इस नाटक के।
And everybody is just a player.
और बाकी सब जो है वो कोई भूमिका निभा रहे हैं।
You can take different positions according to different karma, yes.
तो हम अपने कर्मानुसार अलग-अलग स्थान ले सकते हैं।
You can play a big role or a small role, a bad role or a good role.
तो हम कोई बड़ा भूमिका निभा सकते हैं छोटा भूमिका निभा सकते हैं।
But the drama is written by Krishna.
लेकिन ड्रामा कृष्ण के द्वारा लिखा गया है।
And the coronavirus is part of this drama.
और कोरोना वायरस जो है इस ड्रामा का हिस्सा है।
It is Krishna's will.
ये कृष्ण की इच्छा है।
And you cannot stop it.
आप इसको रोक नहीं सकते।
Like we have the Spanish, what was the Spanish, not the Spanish one, the Black Pest in Europe. Black Pest in the 15th century.
तो एक ब्लैक पेस्ट करके यूरोप में था 15वीं सदी में।
It devoured millions of people.
उसमें लाखों लाख लोगों को मार दिया था।
And then from one day to another, finished.
तो एक दिन पर दिन लोग मरते जा रहे थे।
Krishna clapped his hands, said, let it be finished, it was finished.
और कुछ समय बाद अपना चला गया।
From one day to another, nobody knew how that happened.
और किसी को पता नहीं कैसे चला गया वो।
It came overnight and it left overnight.
एक दिन आया एक दिन चला गया।
Because all Krishna's game.
और फिर कृष्ण ने
So in the same way, there are wars.
इसी प्रकार से युद्ध होते हैं।
And people get killed. They're born in particular nations where they will be killed.
वो लोग उसी देश में जन्मे हैं जहाँ पर उनकी मृत्यु होनी है।
They will be born in a concentration camp because of karma.
और अपने कर्म के अनुसार कभी-कभी लोग जो है कंसंट्रेशन कैंप में जन्म लेते हैं।
Not a blade of grass can move without Krishna's sanction.
एक जो है घास का तिनका भी मूव नहीं कर सकता भगवान की इच्छा के बिना।
Everything is 100% under Krishna's control.
सब कुछ 100% भगवान के नियंत्रण में है।
And so therefore we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That is the best way to take care of ourselves. We take shelter in Krishna.
तो ये हरे कृष्ण मंत्र जप करना सबसे अच्छा उपाय है अपना ख्याल रखने के लिए, अपने प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए।
Because you cannot make plans
क्योंकि हम अपना कोई प्लान नहीं बना सकते
to save yourself.
अपने आप को बचाने के लिए।
When we were in Ireland, I tell you a story. We had a farm in the mountain, very high. You had to go with a Land Rover up there.
तो बोलता है जब हम आइलैंड में थे तो एक बहुत बड़े पर्वत पे हम चढ़ रहे थे।
So there were two hippies and a triad, husband and wife. They were living there for 10 years.
तो वहाँ पर दो हिप्पी थे, हस्बैंड वाइफ और एक बच्चा था, वो लोग 10 साल से रह रहे थे वहाँ पर।
When we came, it was very beautiful up there.
बहुत सुंदर स्थान था वो।
No people,
कोई जगह नहीं
except the devotees.
और खाली भक्त
We had some cows there. We had some cows.
कुछ गायें थी
Could look over the whole valley,
और पूरा
and there was the Atlantic Ocean.
नदी की ओशन,
Atlantic Ocean.
अटलांटिक ओशन
Very beautiful. So one day this family, this husband and wife, they came and said, we are leaving.
एक दिन ये परिवार आया और उन्होंने कहा हम जा रहे हैं।
I said, why did you come from England in the first place?
तो रोगी ने कहा आप यहाँ आए थे।
We left England because if there's a nuclear war, we will be destroyed.
तो हमने इंग्लैंड से छोड़ दिया कि न्यूक्लियर वार होगा तो हम खत्म हो जाएंगे।
So we thought, let us go to the west of Ireland. That's where our farm was, because the wind comes always from America. We will not be destroyed. Even if a bomb drops on England, it doesn't matter. We will be safe.
तो हम इस स्थान में कि अगर कोई न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब इंग्लैंड पर गिर भी गया तो ये इस जगह पर कुछ नहीं होगा।
So then they told me we're going to move again. We think this is not safe enough.
अभी हमें ऐसा लग रहा है कि यहाँ पर हम सेफ नहीं, हम फिर से जाना है कहीं पर।
See, we bought a house in Falklands. You know where Falklands is?
फॉर्ट्रेस,
Falklands. Falklands.
फॉकलैंड्स पता है क्या होता है?
Falks, Falkland.
The Fox Land.
Okay.
FALDS land बोलता है उस जगह पे जमीन खरीदने जाने का।
If this is North America, if
ये
this is,
नॉर्थ अमेरिका है,
and here's South America,
नीचे उसके साउथ अमेरिका है,
it's the very tip. There's a little island.
और उसके एकदम नीचे में जाकर के एक छोटा सा द्वीप है,
It's called the Falklands.
इसको कहते हैं फॉक्स लैंड,
And actually it belongs to England, Britain.
और ये ब्रिटेन को बिलोंग करता है।
To be able to control the shipping around South Africa, South America.
तो यहाँ जो जहाज है वो इसके घूम के जाती है इस तरह।
So at one stage, the Argentine people who live here, they took over this island.
तो वहाँ एक बार जब जापानी स्थान में थे तो वो इस आइलैंड को कब्जा कर लिए थे।
And so the British sent a huge army down there
तो वहाँ के ब्रिटिश ने बहुत सारी आर्मी सेना को भेजा
to get them get them off the island.
तो वहाँ से उन लोगों को निकालने के लिए।
It was a foolish idea. There's no value in that island.
तो बेवकूफी थी क्योंकि वो वहाँ पर उसको कोई स्थान का वैल्यू नहीं था।
And so Margaret Thatcher, the prime ministerium, she had this idea, let's send a huge army and drive them out.
तो उसमें जो प्रधानमंत्री थी उसका ये सुविधा थी आके खाली कर दो।
So our friends said, move down there.
तो वो जो प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि तुम वहाँ चल जाओ।
And one evening they went into a pub, into a bar to drink.
एक रात को वो लोग गए पब में फिर बाद में कुछ शराब पीने गए।
And when they came back, the house was destroyed.
जब वो वापस आए तो उनका पूरा घर
They ran as far as the Falklands.
वो लोग उस फॉकलैंड की तरफ भाग गए।
15,000 kilometers south of where they were before.
तो जहाँ वो रहे थे उससे 15,000 किलोमीटर दूर था।
And still, they built a house, and within 1 minute, the British Army threw bomb into it, the Air Force, they lost their house.
तो वो लोग उनके घर को पूरा नष्ट कर दिया ब्रिटिश आर्मी ने।
So there are many people who make plans like this.
तो कई लोग ऐसा अपना प्लान बनाते हैं यहाँ रहेंगे वहाँ रहेंगे।
But you cannot avoid Krishna.
बट आप भगवान से आप उनके प्लान को नहीं सोच सकते।
The only safe position is with Krishna.
तो खाली जो सबसे सुरक्षित स्थान है वो है कृष्ण।
Otherwise, there is no safety.
और कहीं आपको आप कहीं सेफ नहीं रह सकते।
Famous Hollywood stars, they make so much money.
जो बहुत हॉलीवुड स्टार बहुत सारे धन कमाते हैं।
And then from one moment to another, they're killed.
सॉरी।
Well, from one moment to another, they can be killed.
हाँ लेकिन वो एक पक्का मेरा खतरा में जाए वो कभी भी मृत्यु हो सकती है।
You can never foresee when you go. You cannot stop it.
और आप कभी देख नहीं सकते कि ये कब मृत्यु आ जाए।
So now let's come to Srila Prabhupada.
अब हम लोग प्रभुपाद जी के बारे में।
He appeared as was predicted by by Nityananda himself.
तो प्रभुपाद जी इस धरातल पर आए तो उन्होंने घोषणा की थी।
And so when he was born already, it was very auspicious one day after Janmashtami.
तो जन्माष्टमी अगले दिन प्रभुपाद जी का जन्म हुआ था।
And an astrologer called.
और एक एस्ट्रोलॉजर ज्योतिष को
He said, this child will have many temples
तो ये जो बालक है इसकी बहुत सारे मंदिर निर्माण करेगा।
before he leaves the body. He will start many temples.
अपने से छोड़ने से पहले ये बहुत सारे मंदिर निर्माण करेगा।
And when Prabhupada was 4 years old, he started Rath Yatra in the neighborhood.
और जब वो 4 साल के थे तो उन्होंने रथ यात्रा शुरू कर दी अपने ही पड़ोस में।
He started, that was his first Rath Yatra. The next one was in New York.
वो उनका पहला रथ यात्रा वहाँ
Oh,
था।
sorry, San Francisco.
और वो दूसरा था वो सैन फ्रांसिस्को में था।
That was his victory. When first time the Rath cart came down the road, he said, that is the victory. I was praying for that for the last so many years, decades.
तो प्रभुपाद जब रथ आया सैन फ्रांसिस्को रोड में तो प्रभुपाद जी ने बोले ये मेरा विजय बताता है, ये मेरी विजय का घोषणा है और मैं इसके लिए कितने सालों से प्रयास कर रहा था।
Next there was Rath Yatra in New York. It was Fifth Avenue, the most famous street in the world.
तो अगला रथ यात्रा हुआ था न्यूयॉर्क में फिफ्थ एवेन्यू में, वो दुनिया का सबसे जाना माना वो है रास्ता है, स्ट्रीट है।
And even now, Hare Krishna movement is the only religious movement who is allowed to have on Fifth Avenue a demonstration, a religious demonstration.
तो अभी भी हरे कृष्णा मूवमेंट जो होगा एकमात्र ऐसा मूवमेंट है जिसको फिफ्थ एवेन्यू में प्रोसेस करने का अलाउड है, परमिशन है।
Because it was Prabhupada's desire.
क्योंकि प्रभुपाद जी की इच्छा थी।
Nobody else can get a permission,
और कोई भी किसी को परमिशन नहीं मिला।
but we got the permission.
परमिशन मिल लगा।
And every year,
ये प्रभुपाद की
Ras Yatras in every town and village, practically speaking.
अभी आपके आप देख सकते हैं रथ यात्रा हर गांव हर शहर में हो रहा है।
Toronto, huge Ras Yatra.
टोरंटो में भी ह्यूज बहुत बड़ा रथ यात्रा है।
Dallas, huge Ras Yatra.
बहुत बड़ा रथ यात्रा होता है।
London, gigantic Ras Yatra.
बहुत बड़ा रथ यात्रा है।
France, Paris, Ras Yatra.
फ्रांस, पेरिस,
Czech Republic, Prague, Ras Yatra.
तो अलग अलग जगह पर रथ यात्रा आज हो रही है।
So Lord Jagannath was all over the world.
जगन्नाथ जी पूरे विश्व में भ्रमण कर रहे हैं।
Prabhupada did it.
प्रभा ने करके दिखा दिया।
He did what Lord Chaitanya wanted him to do.
वो उन्होंने वो कर दिया तो चैतन्य महाप्रभु चाहते थे उनसे
And
कराना।
it was not easy.
ये इतना आसान नहीं था।
I remember his Ayurvedic doctor, Narottam Gupta.
तो प्रभा जी बता रहे हैं कि प्रभा के आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर थे जिनका नाम नरोत्तम गुप्ता।
And now he has left, he's gone.
अब तक तो वो शरीर छोड़ चुके होंगे।
He was telling me a story that
वो बता रहे थे प्रभु जी।
whenever we went to Delhi
तो जब वो दिल्ली गए
from Vrindavan,
वृंदावन से,
sometimes he had to go. And in front of Vrindavan, there's this huge trunk road from Agra going down to Delhi, right? You have to go Chatika Road
छठी का।
and all the way to the cross, and then you take the trunk road.
तो प्रभु जी बता रहे हैं कैसे वृंदावन से आगे निकलते हैं, छठी तरफ रोड आगे जाते हैं तो दिल्ली को रोड डायरेक्ट करता है।
So he used to hire Tonga, a horse cart.
तो वहां से वो टांगा हायर करते थे।
I remember when we came to India, first time, we had to travel from the railway station, Mathura Junction, in a horse cart, in a Tonga.
तो प्रभु जी अपने अनुभव बता रहे हैं कि जब वो पहली बार भारत आए थे तो उन्होंने मथुरा स्टेशन से टांगा लेकर के आए थे वृंदावन।
The times have changed.
अभी समय बदल गया है।
And even if you walk around Vrindavan, everything was sandy road, just a sandy road.
तो अभी पहले जो था वो सारा बालू रेती का रोड था पहले पूरा वृंदावन।
And I remember once you passed Madan Mohan temple, there was a bridge, it was half built. The rest was gone. Half bridge leading into this bed. This was the bed of the Yamuna.
तो प्रभु जी बता रहे हैं कि उनको याद है कि यमुना मतलब मोहन से आगे जाकर के ब्रिज का जो आधा ही बना था। आधा जाने के बाद यमुना का बहुत बड़ा गड्ढा था।
It was an old bridge, it was only this wide
वो एक पुराना ब्रिज था
for passengers to go to Madan Mohan temple.
मधुर जंगल के पास।
And so you could walk around Vrindavan, everything was sandy road.
तो वृंदावन में चलने के लिए खाली रेती का ही रास्ता था।
Now it has become a highway.
अभी जो है वो पूरा प्रॉपर रोड बन गया
You
है।
know. So when he took his Tonga to go to the trunk road, he saw that Srila Prabhupada was sitting in one property under a tree and he was chanting Hare Krishna.
तो वो बता रहे हैं नरोत्तम गुप्ता कि जब वो जा रहे थे दिल्ली की तरफ उन्होंने प्रॉपर को देखा वो एक प्रॉपर्टी पर बैठ के जप कर रहे थे।
And 15 years later, that became the Krishna Balaram Mandir, that very property where Prabhupada was
तो
singing.
15 साल बाद वही प्रॉपर्टी जो कृष्ण बलराम मंदिर बन गया है।
And then he told me that Prabhupada was living in Keshigat. Everybody knows Keshigat?
तो प्रॉपर जो है किसी घाट में रहते थे।
So when you go to Keshigat, there are these catacombs, these cave-like holes in this building, right? No windows, just a door or something.
तो जब किसी घाट जाते हैं तो आप देखो वहाँ बिल्डिंग में गुफा जैसा स्थान बना हुआ है, बना है सब वहाँ किसी घाट में।
That's where Prabhupada was living
और वहाँ पर प्रॉपर रहते थे।
when he came to Vrindavan.
जब वृंदावन आए थे,
He had no money.
उनका उसमें पैसा नहीं था।
And he had 7 malaria, this doctor told me, he had 7 malaria attacks in 1 year.
तो वहाँ पर एक साल में व्यक्ति को 7 बार मलेरिया होता है, ऐसा वो बताता था।
Narottam Gupta told me, he said, I had to treat him 7 times in 1 year with malaria.
तो प्रॉपर जी को 7 बार मलेरिया होता है एक साल में और नरोत्तम गुप्ता डॉक्टर ने उसको ट्रीट किया था।
Prabhupada said, but I have no money. I have to depend on Krishna. And so then this Narottam Das Gupta, he got him the first room. I forgot, Vamsa something temple, Vamsi Gopal. See, Prabhupada was very brave. He was like even when he was a young student, he was, the students at that time, they were Gandhians. They appreciated Gandhi. So at that time in Calcutta, the building, the Victoria, Queen Victoria building was being built.
तो उस समय कलकत्ता में क्वीन विक्टोरिया बिल्डिंग जो आज है वो बन रहा था,
Queen Victoria Memorial,
क्वीन विक्टोरिया मेमोरियल,
most famous building in all of Calcutta.
कलकत्ता का सबसे प्रसिद्ध बिल्डिंग है।
And it was in scaffolding, like here you have the bamboo rods going up because it was in construction.
तो उस समय उसका कंस्ट्रक्शन चल ही रहा था।
So one of the friends of Prabhupada,
प्रभुपाद के एक मित्र,
he said somebody should climb up there and hoist the Indian national flag.
तो उसने चैलेंज कर दिया कि कोई ऊपर चढ़ के जाओ विक्टोरिया के और ऊपर जाके भारत का झंडा फहरा के दिखाओ।
And Prabhupada said, why don't you do it?
प्रभुपाद ने कहा तुम क्यों नहीं करके दिखाते?
He said, the boy said, it's too dangerous.
बोले ये बहुत खतरनाक है,
Because if you get caught by the British, they hang you right there. It's high treason,
बोले ऐसा तुम पकड़ा गए तो वहीं पर वो सीढ़ी पे चढ़ा देंगे निकालेंगे।
right? It's high treason. They will hang you without court case, on the spot, if they catch you.
उसी स्थान पे तुमको खत्म कर देंगे वो लोग पकड़ के।
So Prabhupada said, anybody wants to go up there?
प्रभुपाद ने कहा कोई यहाँ जाता है वहाँ पर?
Nobody.
कोई नहीं यहाँ पे
Prabhupada
जाता
said,
है।
then I will do it.
प्रभुपाद ने कहा मैं करके दिखाऊंगा।
And he climbed all the way up on the scaffolding. This building is huge. It's almost as huge as Mayapur temple. Huge on top all the way. And he hoisted the Indian national flag on the Victorian memorial, Victoria Memorial.
तो प्रभुपाद ने करके दिखा दिया। प्रभुपाद जी चढ़ के गए ऊपर और क्वीन विक्टोरिया जो बिल्डिंग आज प्रभुपाद समाधि मंदिर देखते हैं लगभग उतना बड़ा है, उससे ही बड़ा है। तो वहां पर जाके उन्होंने भारत का झंडा फहरा दिया।
And all Calcutta could see it.
पूरा कलकत्ता ही देख सकता था।
And the word went around, the British, somebody hoists the independence flag on top of the Victoria building.
तो कोई ब्रिटिश जाके बता दिया कि वो भी देख पाए कि अरे ये कोई झंडा फहरा दिया भारत।
Everybody saw it except the British didn't see it.
सब लोगों ने देखा इसको।
For some reason, nobody realized it. Of the British people, none of the policemen, none of them, they didn't realize that somebody hoisted the national flag.
हाँ, एक्चुअली क्या हुआ कि ये ब्रिटिश समाज और ब्रिटिश सरकार जो है इसकी जानकारी में नहीं आया कि किसने सब कर दिया था।
They were all asleep, like the prison wardeners in the prison of Kamsa.
तो वो सब सोए थे जैसे भगवान जब जा रहे थे कंसा के कारागृह से सब सो गए थे ना सारे जो द्वारपाल है, उसी तरह वो लोग सब कोई सो गए थे।
And Vasudeva wanted to transport the child over to Nandagram. All the police officers, all the guards, they fell asleep.
तो जब वासुदेव जो है वो नंदग्राम में कृष्ण को लेके जा रहे थे तो सारे जो गार्ड्स थे सब सो गए थे।
So in the same way, none of the British people realized that the flag was up.
तो कोई ब्रिटिश सरकार को कोई लोग समझ नहीं पाए कि ऐसा कुछ झंडा फहराया
So
है।
Prabhupada came down to his friends and said, no, let's run really quick.
तो प्रभुपाद जी तुरंत उतर क्या बोले, भागो जल्दी करो।
And so Prabhupada told us his story. There's one devotee in England, his name is Ranchor. And Ranchor told Prabhupada one time that, Prabhupada, you're very brave. And Prabhupada, that is a fact. And then he told him the story.
तो प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं कि एक बार इंग्लैंड में एक युवती का नाम है रणछोड़, उन्होंने एक बार प्रभुपाद जी को कहा था प्रभुपाद जी बहुत साहसी है, तो उनका हाथ रखो सही है, और फिर उन्होंने कहानी बताई।
That was very risky, but Prabhupada had the courage to do that.
वो बहुत ही खतरनाक है, लेकिन प्रभुपाद जी को ऐसा साहस था करने के लिए।
None of his godbrothers had the courage to go to America.
उनके कोई भी बाकी गुरु भाई के पास साहस था कि अमेरिका जाके प्रचार करें।
And everybody discouraged him. Even Srimati Murari, she said, Swamiji, you will die.
तो सब लोग ने उनको उनका उत्साह कम करने का प्रयास किया। श्रीमती मुरारी ने कहा कि स्वामी जी आप मर जाएंगे जाकर किसी जगह पे।
But Swamiji went.
बट स्वामी जी चले गए।
And then he went overseas. He had 3 heart attacks.
तो वो समुद्र पार करते हुए उनको 3 हार्ट अटैक आया।
And finally he came to Boston and then to New York.
अंत में आकर वो बॉस्टन आए और न्यूयॉर्क पहुंचे।
He had just one invitation from this family, what were they called? The
अग्रवाल
family.
अग्रवाल फैमिली से उनको खाली इनविटेशन था प्रभुपाद जी को।
And it was very cold. He didn't know. He didn't know what to do. So he gave lectures in what was it? This YMCA club.
तो YMCA क्लब में प्रभुपाद जी जो है लेक्चर देते थे जाकर के वहाँ।
Then he decided to go to New York.
फिर उन्होंने सोचा कि न्यूयॉर्क जाएंगे।
He didn't know where to go in New York.
उनको पता नहीं कहाँ जाना
So
है।
finally he found the Bowery, which is the lowest part in New York where every house is kaput, and he found a place there.
और फाइनली वो बाउरी में जो सबसे खड़गड़ा जगह है न्यूयॉर्क का।
And he stayed with one boy, his name was Alan.
और वो एक लड़की था जिसका नाम था एलन।
And Ellen was taking LSD.
एलन जो है ड्रग्स लेता था।
Prabhupada stayed in the same apartment with him.
प्रभुपाद ने उसी अपार्टमेंट में रहे उसके साथ।
So one day this Ellen became so crazy that he took a bread knife and tried to kill Srila Prabhupada. Huh?
डेविड और एलन। It was डेविड और एलन।
Doesn't matter. One of the two.
तो प्रभु जी कहा कि उस एक दिन वो रात को एक लड़का जो है वो प्रभुपाद के सामने छुरी लेकर के मतलब चाकू लेकर के मारने के लिए भागा प्रभुपाद।
So Prabhupada was running down the stairs and this guy was after him.
प्रभुपाद जी ऐसे सीढ़ी उतर के नीचे भाग रहे थे और उसके पीछे वो उनको लेके मारने के लिए भागा।
Can you imagine?
आप क्या ये सोच सकते हैं? कल्पना कर सकते हैं?
And then he came outside and people immediately stopped this boy in killing Prabhupada.
तो प्रभुपाद जी बाहर निकल गए और जो लोग हैं वो उनको रोके मारने से।
Prabhupada was actually at that time physically very fit.
प्रभुपाद उस समय बहुत पुरुष थे शारीरिक स्तर पर।
Ramananda told me when he would go up to his apartment in the first floor, he took 2 steps at a time.
तो ब्रह्मानंद महाराज बताते थे कि जब प्रभुपाद चलते थे अपने फर्स्ट फ्लोर जाने के लिए तो 2 सीढ़ियां एक साथ करते थे।
2 steps, and he was running upstairs.
तो मैंने लिटरली वो भागते थे ऊपर जाने।
2 steps at a time. I can't do that.
प्रभु जी कहते मैं नहीं कर सकता वो अभी लेकिन प्रॉपर्टी 2 स्टेप एक साथ करते थे।
You have to be very fit to do that.
आपको बहुत रिस्क होना पड़ेगा वो करने के।
And the rest is history. You cooked for everybody, distributed prasadam for everybody, and Krishna brought him. And Prabhupada had this idea that whoever comes to me, he's sent by Krishna. He never rejected anyone.
तो फिर आप जानते हैं कैसे प्रभुपाद जी ने सबके लिए प्रसाद बनाया, प्रचार किया और प्रभुपाद जी जानते थे कि जो भी मेरे पास लोग आए वो कृष्ण भेज रहे हैं।
Anybody came to Prabhupada, Prabhupada would accept him and he would encourage him to practice Krishna.
तो कोई भी प्रभुपाद जी के पास आता था प्रभुपाद जी उसको उत्साह देते थे और उसकी आगे बढ़ाने का प्रयास करते थे।
He encouraged the Cardinal of Paris to join the Hare Krishna movement.
तो उन्होंने पेरिस के
Cardinal means the top guy in the church in
चर्च
France.
का जो है वहाँ का जो चर्च है उसके सबसे टॉप मोस्ट व्यक्ति जो है उसको भी उन्होंने भक्त बनाने का प्रयास किया प्रभुपाद जी ने और मूवमेंट में ज्वाइन कराया।
So the man asked, what do I have to do?
तो उस व्यक्ति ने पूछा हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा?
You have to give up eating meat.
प्रभुपाद जी कहा तुम्हें मांस छोड़ना पड़ेगा, मांस खाना पड़ेगा।
And the man argued, he said, I want to eat meat and it is not, why should it be forbidden? Meat is very tasty.
तो उसने कहा क्यों मैं मीट छोड़ूं? ये मांस तो बहुत टेस्टी होता है।
And Prabhupada, then you become a tiger in your next life.
प्रभुपाद ने कहा तुम अगले जन्म में शेर बन जाओगे।
He was a top man in the church,
चर्च का सबसे टॉप मैन व्यक्ति था
you know, and he wouldn't listen to Prabhupada.
और वो प्रभुपाद जी को सुनने का तैयार नहीं था।
And later it was found that he died in a prostitution house.
और पता चला बाद में वो एक वैश्य घर में उसका मृत्यु हुई।
And all the French people loved it.
और
All France loved it. They said, our bishop, he's a real man.
तो सब लोग उसका सारे फ्रांस के लोग जो है उसको प्रेम करते थे
They appreciate it.
और उन्होंने बहुत उसको सराहना किया।
So you see, Prabhupada, even when he came to New York, he had the 3rd heart attack.
तो जब प्रभुपाद जी न्यूयॉर्क गए तो वो तीसरा हार्ट अटैक आया था।
And Brahmananda brought him to the hospital.
ब्रह्मानंद महाराज ने उनको हॉस्पिटल ले गए।
And the Indian doctor, he examined Prabhupada
तो जो भारत के डॉक्टर था वो प्रभुपाद जी का उनको एग्जामिन किया
and told Brahmananda, Prabhupada could hear it. Because when Prabhupada heard it, he started laughing. He said, this old man is praying too much. He has to walk every day for half an hour.
तो उन्होंने कहा प्रभुपाद ने कि ये जो वृद्ध व्यक्ति बहुत प्रार्थना करता है दिन इसलिए ब्रह्मानंद महाराज ने कहा और प्रभुपाद ने ये बात सुना he prays too much।
And Prabhupada, when he heard it, he laughed about it.
प्रभुपाद जब सुने तो हंसने लगे।
Because it was so funny. This old man is praying too much, he should walk.
तो ये स्कूल में ये जो व्यक्ति बहुत ज़्यादा प्रार्थना करता है।
And then next day, Prabhupada told Brahmananda, from now on, I will walk every day like the doctor said.
तो उस डॉक्टर ने सलाह दी थी कि आपको हर दिन जो है वॉक करना चाहिए। तो उस अगले दिन से प्रभुपाद जी ने चलना शुरू कर दिया।
From that day on, Prabhupada walked every single day for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour.
तो हर उसके बाद से हर दिन प्रभुपाद जी आधा घंटा कम से कम चलते थे।
He could understand Krishna talking to him.
वो समझ आते थे कि कृष्ण उनसे बातचीत करते थे वास्तव में।
All men should walk.
तो हर व्यक्ति को चलना चाहिए।
And so there are so many stories how Prabhupada practiced his Krishna consciousness, how he developed so many programs, so many temples.
तो ये बहुत सारी कहानी सीखी कि कैसे प्रभुपाद जी ने इतने सारे मंदिर बनाए, इतने सारे प्रचार किया।
Like they had no money in London.
तो उनके पास जैसे लंदन में उनके पास कोई धन नहीं
And the devotees didn't know how to pay the bill.
उनको पता नहीं था कैसे हम रेंट सब कैसे पे करेंगे।
And so they decided, let's just go out and have Harinam.
तो उन्होंने सोचा चलो भागे हरिनाम करते हैं।
And then Maharaj, he told us, all of a sudden they saw there was a gush of wind, there was money coming down the street.
तो माता जी बताती है कि जब हम हरिनाम कर रहे तो स्ट्रीट में रोड में हमें पैसा आता हुआ मिला।
And they're starting to collect the money.
और वो लोग पैसा उठाने लगे रोड से।
And when they counted, it was exactly the amount they needed for the bill to pay for the rent next month. And another time when Prabhu Vishnu was there, in the London temple, they had no money to pay the bill. So on Sankirtan, Prabhu Vishnu, he met a man from the House of Lords. He said, I thought about you and I thought I should give you a donation. And he gave him an envelope, a donation, 3,000 pounds sterling. And when he opened it, he saw it. It was exactly the money that was missing for the next month for the rent.
तो वो एक बार संकीर्तन में जा रहे थे ऐसी और एक हाउस ऑफ लॉर्ड्स जो वहाँ का पार्लियामेंट है उससे एक व्यक्ति आया और उन्होंने महाराज को एक लिफाफा दिया और कहा कि मुझे तुम्हें ये पैसा मिला था और ये एग्जैक्टली उतना ही पैसा निकला जितना उनका अगला महीने का खर्चा था।
And then Prabhupada wanted to print the Krishna book.
और जब प्रभुपाद को कृष्ण बुक प्रिंट करना था
Devotees had no money.
तो भक्तों ने कहा पैसा नहीं है।
So Prabhupada told Shamasuna, you should ask George Harrison.
तो प्रभुपाद ने श्याम से कहा उनसे कहा कि जॉर्ज हैरिसन को पूछो।
Shamasuna said, Prabhupada, we never ask for money because everybody wants money from him. We can't do that.
तो श्याम को थोड़ा सा इसी चार पे बोले हम कभी भी इससे धन नहीं मांगते क्योंकि सब लोग इससे धन के लिए मांगते हैं।
He said he will be disappointed.
वो नाराज नहीं।
Prabhupada said, no, you just do what I tell you.
प्रभुपाद ने नहीं जो मैं कह रहा हूँ वो करो।
So he went there. And they were sitting together in the evening with one famous person. He's a sculptor. You know, he makes coins with the face of a British queen. That's his profession. He's famous.
तो एक व्यक्ति जो था वहाँ पर वो जो कॉइन्स जो सिक्के होते हैं उसका जो वो फोटो बने रहते हैं वो बनाता था।
Right? He's a sculptor. They were sitting together in the evening to take their dinner.
तो वो और जॉर्ज हैरिसन, these two people were sitting.
George Harrison was there. His wife was there, the sculptor was there, and Shamasunda was there.
तो ये चार लोग बैठे थे, जॉर्ज हैरिसन, उनकी पत्नी, ये स्कल्पचर और श्याम सुंदर प्रभु।
And George Harrison, he noticed that Shamasunda was not talking.
और जॉर्ज हैरिसन ने ये देखा कि श्याम सुंदर प्रभु जो है वो बात नहीं कर रहे।
He told Shamasunda, is there anything wrong?
तो उन्होंने कुछ बात देखा।
Why don't you talk?
आप बात क्यों नहीं कर रहे?
And Shamasunda said, no, I don't want to talk about it.
तो श्याम सुंदर प्रभु बोले मुझे नहीं मुझे बात नहीं करनी चाहिए।
George said, come on, tell me, what's wrong?
तो जॉर्ज ने कहा बताओ क्या करना है।
And then Shamasunda said, all right, Prabhupada asked me, we want to print the Krishna book, whether you could pay for it.
तो श्याम सुंदर ने कहा कि प्रभुपाद ने कहा कृष्ण को प्रिंट करना है क्या तुम इसके लिए पे कर सकते हो।
George was just eating, he puts a knife and the fork down, and he said, Shamasunda.
और जॉर्ज ऐसे लगा वो अपना जो छुरी और कांटा है उसको छोड़ करके बोला श्याम सुंदर।
All of a sudden, light went out.
तुरंत वहाँ अंधेरा हो गया।
And there was a huge thunder. The whole house was shaking.
तो एक थंडरबोल्ट सा हुआ और पूरा घर जैसे शेक करने लग गया।
And the light was out for 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
और जो लाइट था चला गया 2-3 दिन चला गया।
And everybody was silent because
सब लोग शांत बैठ गए इधर।
then the light went on.
फिर से लाइट आ गया।
And George said, one cannot argue with this. You cannot argue with this.
हाँ तो फिर जॉर्ज ने कहा तुम इसके लिए आर्गुमेंट नहीं कर सकते हो।
So he pulled his checkbook out of his pocket and sold a check 19,000 pounds sterling.
तो उन्होंने चेक निकाला और 19,000 पाउंड तुरंत साइन कर दिया।
In the same way, when Prabhupada wanted to print the Bhagavad Gita, he said it should be printed by a huge publisher, the first edition at least.
तो जब प्रभुपाद ने गीता प्रिंट कर रहा था तो पहले कोई बड़ा पब्लिशर इसको प्रिंट करे।
Who's the most famous publisher in the world?
सबसे फेमस पब्लिशर कौन है वर्ल्ड में?
Someone said Macmillan Company.
तो सामने जो नाम मैकमिलन कंपनी।
So then sometimes later somebody wrote a letter from Macmillan Company. He wanted one of Prabhupada's albums, this happening album, Hare Krishna Mantra. He wanted the album.
तो जो मैकमिलन कंपनी का कोई एक अधिकारी था वो प्रभुपाद का एल्बम जो था उसके सॉन्ग्स का वो प्राप्त किया।
It's just somebody in the company. The company has thousands of employees. Just one among 1,000 employees. He wrote this. He wanted that album.
तो हजारों में से एक कोई ऐसा एम्प्लॉय था उसको ये एल्बम चाहिए था।
So Prabhupada took it as a sign. He said, now you should go. Take the manuscripts and go to Macmillan.
तो बाबा ने कहा आप ये काम करो, जाओ ये मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट जो है इसको लेकर के कंपनी में डालो.
And so he was sitting in the lobby of the Macmillan company, huge lobby.
तो बहुत बड़ा लॉबी में वो बैठा था, हमारे भक्त जो बैठा था वो उनके लॉबी में मैक्मिलन कंपनी के.
Calling this particular gentleman who wanted this album.
तो वो एक जो व्यक्ति था जिसको एल्बम चाहिए था वो आया.
All of a sudden the door opened and a guy came out, nice suit, and he said, "Oh, I've not expected you here, the Krishnas."
हाँ तो एक जैसे गेट खुला एक बहुत अच्छा सूट में एक व्यक्ति आया, बोला देखिए चौक आ रहे मैं तो नहीं ढूंढ रहा था.
Why did you come to Macmillan?
आप मैक्मिलन में क्यों आ गए?
He said, "Well, I have the manuscript for Bhagavad Gita of my guru."
तो उन्होंने कहा मेरे गुरु ने ये भगवत गीता लिखी है, उसका मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट है मेरे पास.
The guy said, "Very good. I'm in charge for the printing here, for the editor. We are just looking for an edition of Bhagavad Gita. We will print it. Give it to me."
तो बोला बहुत अच्छा, मैं ढूंढ ही रहा था कि भगवत गीता का मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट मिले और मैं इंचार्ज इसका एडिटर हूं और मुझे दे दो, मैं प्रिंट करूंगा इसको.
And it was printed. It was the first edition. It was huge. It came into every store in the United States. It was in every library.
तो वो बहुत बड़ा सक्सेस हुआ, वो सारे लाइब्रेरी सारे स्टोर हर जगह पहुंचा. ये मैं पहला मैक्मिलन का लेडीज का होता था.
You see, there's another story. That one time, Prabhupada came to Los Angeles,
एक बार प्रभुपाद जी लॉस एंजलिस आए थे,
and the temple was not very good location.
तो जो मंदिर था वो अच्छा लोकेशन में नहीं था. It was not there.
Not very respectable area, not very good temple. So he said, we should get a bigger temple.
तो प्रभुपाद जी ने कहा हमें कोई बड़ा स्थान ढूंढना चाहिए, अच्छा स्थान ढूंढना चाहिए.
Devotee said, but Prabhupada, we have no money.
भक्तों ने कहा प्रभुपाद हमारे पास कोई धन नहीं है.
Prabhupada said, money will come.
प्रभुपाद ने कहा पैसा धन आ जाएगा.
So you should go to the best estate agent of the town
आप जो है रियल एस्टेट के एजेंट है उनके पास जाइए
and see if you can buy a church.
और सॉरी आप जाके देखो कि आप कोई चर्च को खरीद सकते हो.
Devotees came back after 3 hours. He said, Srila Prabhupada, we got a church. There's a church there.
तो 3 घंटे बाद भक्त ने बोले प्रभुपाद हमें चर्च मिल गया है, चर्च है, जो हम खरीद सकते हैं.
Beautiful buildings with columns. You know, this is the present New York temple, Los Angeles temple.
तो बहुत सुंदर बिल्डिंग है, बहुत सारे कॉलम्स है उसमें, वो चर्च में खरीद सकते हैं.
Temple was there, visitor center was there, they can play, it was a stage.
तो वहाँ पर अलग-अलग बहुत सारे बिल्डिंग थे उस चर्च के अंदर, बड़ी प्रॉपर्टी थी, सारे काम थे.
Kitchen was there, everything was as a community center, everything was there.
तो हर चीज जो हमें चाहिए था वो है वहाँ पर.
The temple, the church and the community center of the Baptist community.
तो एक बैप्टिस्ट कम्युनिटी का वो चर्च था.
And Prabhupada said, let's buy it.
प्रभुपाद ने कहा खरीद लो.
The devotee said, but Prabhupada, we have no money.
प्रभुपाद ने कहा पैसा है.
Well, he said, let's buy it and let's see what Krishna does. So the devotees were very disturbed. Prabhupada, what are you doing? You know, you have no money and we are buying this property. In the evening, 4 boys arrived. And one of them, he was a guru of the Hatha Yoga movement in Hawaii. His name was Butler, Stephen Butler.
Stephen Butler.
He became later initiated, I forgot the name. He said, Swami, I said, I'm in charge for a huge group of people who are practicing on Hatha Yoga and I'm their guru.
तो उसने कहा कि स्वामी जी मैं बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनका गुरु हूँ जो हड्डी का प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं.
And I was reading your books.
और मैं आपकी किताबें पढ़ रहा था.
Can I become your disciple?
क्या मैं आपका शिष्य बन सकता हूँ?
I was it, but you have to follow the 4 regulated principles.
तो मैंने बताया कुछ आगे पालन करने होंगे.
He said, we are doing this.
तो बोले मैं पालन कर रहा हूँ.
Then Prabhupada, then you become initiated.
और फिर वो बाद में पीछे लगे प्रभुपाद से.
So this man, this butler, he became, I forgot his name. He said to him, to Prabhupada, but I know because my disciples give me dakshini. Can I give you dakshini?
तो उसने कहा कि मेरे जो शिष्य हैं वो मुझे बहुत दक्षिणा देते हैं, क्या मैं आपको दे सकता हूँ?
So the price Prabhupada had agreed on to buy that church was $50,000.
तो उस चर्च को खरीदने के लिए $50,000 चाहिए था.
But Prabhupada had no money.
प्रभुपाद जी उसको पैसा नहीं था.
So the guy opened a briefcase full of money, said, this is yours, your dakshini.
तो व्यक्ति ने ब्रीफकेस खोला, पूरा पैसा से भरा हुआ था, ये आपका दक्षिणा है.
Prabhupada said, how much money is it?
प्रभुपाद ने कहा कितना पैसा है इसमें?
$50,000. There are so many examples like that. That Prabhupada, he has this magic.
तो ऐसे बहुत सारे उदाहरण हैं प्रभुपाद जी जादू करते हैं।
Think about it. I mean, he went alone to New York and then he came back with a couple of people, white people, dancing elephants that didn't know really what to do. And within no time, we have a temple in Mayapur coming up, we have a temple in Vrindavan coming up, a temple in Bombay coming up. This is all magic. It's just completely the work of the supreme magician, Krishna.
तो प्रभुपाद जी एक जादूगर के समान है, वो अकेले गए, फिर अपने डांसिंग वाइट एलिफेंट्स को लेके आए और इतने कम समय में मायापुर, वृंदावन, बॉम्बे इतने बड़े मंदिर खड़े कर दिए।
And so many other temples. In Los Angeles, a beautiful temple. San Francisco, beautiful temple. What is it? Vancouver, beautiful temple. One temple after another came up. And we were just young people.
तो हमें इमेजिन नहीं कर पा रहे कैसे एक के बाद मंदिर खुलते गए। प्रभुपाद जी जादूगर के समान काम करते हैं।
I myself became part of this magic.
तो मैं खुद भी इस मैजिक का एक पार्ट हूँ।
Like one time we were told to open, Srivananda and myself, we were told to open a temple in Heidelberg. Heidelberg in Germany.
हाँ, हाइडेलबर्ग में प्रभु जी और शिवानंद प्रभु को मंदिर खोलने के लिए कहा गया जर्मनी में।
And every day I was on the street, my dhoti was white and saffron. It was because I didn't know how to dye. It was like camouflage, you know, like.
हर दिन उधर स्ट्रीट में आते थे और प्रभु जी को डाई करने लगा ठीक से तो उसके व्हाइट और सैफरन दोनों कलर का मिश्रण था उनका।
Like the army camouflage, it's black and so my dhoti was like that, and my shirt like that, and I stood on the street singing, Om Purnam Adaha Purnam Idam. And Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And many people came, Christians, they were chasing us away and threatening us. I stood in front of the shop, and all of a sudden somebody threw a whole bucket of tomatoes on my head. And I said it, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I took it all as Krishna's blessing. So one day, Sivananda and myself, Sivananda, he was my elder. He told me, should look in the newspaper if we can find a property. So all of a sudden I saw there was somebody said, I would let a property to somebody, but you have to come to present yourself. So I went there. The whole hallway was full of people. Everybody wanted this property. It was a beautiful house with 5 bedrooms and a huge garden. And if you open the back door, you're in the mountains. Beautiful. And directly at the tram line going directly to the main market. It took about 10 minutes by tram. So one professor was there. He wanted the property. The estate agent that I talked to before, he was there. He wanted to have the property. And he told me there, this guy's a professor, this guy's a journalist. And everybody had to come inside. The estate agent was there, the wife was there, the husband was there. And I was invited with my dhoti. Tilak on my face. The woman said, I've never seen such a thing. Who are you? And I explained to her, I said, look, we are a religious movement. This world is a very bad world. There's abortion, there's drug addiction, so many things. We want to give young people a new chance. And she listened to it. Simple woman. I talked for half an hour or something. So why you want to give this building to these people? Why? Give it to us. We do something for humanity. Do something positive.
क्योंकि ये लोग जो है कुछ इंसानियत के लिए समाज के लिए जाते हैं, प्रॉपर्टी को दिया जाती है।
And so after some hours, everybody had talked with these people. The estate agent came out with the husband and the wife, and he said, so we made a decision and we decided that this Hare Krishna, they should have the property. It was magic. We moved in. The lowest line, and we moved in. And she asked me, come into the room in the back room. She took my hand. He said, young man, I give you this property for the rest of my life. And I will never raise the rent. Never. I'll never raise the rent. I give you this property as long as you live. She said, as long as you Unbelievable. There are so many examples like this where you feel all of a sudden that Krishna is helping so much. It was all the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. One day Prabhupada told us you should have a bigger place. We should get a bigger place. So I was told to find a bigger place. So I was involved before I came to Krishna consciousness with some youth movement, some scout people. Yeah, not army, scout, it's a youth program. So I knew a little bit about, so I asked around, and there was this youth hostel work. They have youth hostels all over Germany.
तो वहाँ पर बहुत सारे hostels बने हुए थे. Youth hostels.
Youth hostel, yeah.
Hostel, young people were staying.
So I asked him, he said, yes, there's one property that just became free.
तो मैंने उनसे पूछा तो उन्होंने बताया कि एक प्रॉपर्टी जो कि अभी जस्ट खाली हुई है.
We don't want it.
हमें वो नहीं चाहिए.
You can get it.
आप उसको ले सकते हो.
So I went to this woman,
तो प्रभु माता के पास गए.
the owner,
थी.
and she was Lady Rothschild. She was a descendant of the richest family in the world, the Rothschild family.
Rockefeller.
Rothschild.
तो ये जो माता थी ये एक सबसे धनी परिवार की descendant थी अमेरिका की.
The richest finance family in the world, Rothschild.
तो बहुत धनी लोग थे उनके परिवार की धनी थी.
Rockefeller, Rothschild, these are the people that have money. You know?
तो ये सब बहुत बड़े खानदानी रहे.
So I explained to her, I went in my dhoti just like this, and I explained to her what we wanted to do. Same thing. We are following God, and we need this place to preach. Why did you give it to us? 2 hours I preached to her. Then she said, yes, okay, you can have it. And her caretaker, the guy who lived on the property, was shocked. He said, you know who these people are? He said, yes, I talked with him, I've heard enough. I decided they should have the property, and we moved in. And so when Prabhupada came, at the bottom of this property was amazing. It was a castle, just half an hour out of Frankfurt. Amazing place. Castle. So part of this property was a riding school, riding where people ride horses. And all the richest people of all of Frankfurt, they live in this area. And they do horse riding, they learn. You know, so this place was a very famous place for a long time. So something for the last 800 years it was famous. So when Prabhupada came, I fixed a loudspeaker on a car. So when he came from the airport, I drove about 2 kilometers in front of Prabhupada.
तो जो प्रभुपाद एयरपोर्ट से आए तो प्रभु जी ने 2 किलोमीटर पहले प्रभु से बोले थे।
They said, ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the Hare Krishna movement comes. Please come outside and greet him.
तो प्रभु जी अनाउंस कर रहे थे उसमें कि देवियों सज्जनों हरे कृष्ण मूवमेंट के लीडर आ रहे हैं, आप सब बाहर आकर उनको ग्रीट कीजिए, उनको वेलकम कीजिए।
So people came out of the houses and Prabhupada came, everybody was waving. Prabhupada.
जब प्रभुपाद जी आए तो सब लोग आकर के हाथ दिखा रहे थे।
And Prabhupada, what happened? How do they know that I'm coming?
तो प्रभुपाद ने कहा इनको कैसे पता कि मैं आ रहा हूँ?
Your disciple Prithudas is riding ahead of you, 1 kilometer ahead of you. And he alarms all these people to come to the houses.
तो प्रभुपाद जी के साथ थे, उन्होंने कहा कि आपके डिसाइपल है, आपके शिष्य पृथुदास, वो जाके प्रचार कर रहे हैं, सबको बुला रहे हैं।
So when I came to this riding school,
तो जब वहाँ पहुंचे
I told them, all your famous people, please come. The leader of the Hare Krishna movement is coming. Himself, most famous person in the world as far as yoga is concerned. So they all stood there on the horses like this, and 40 people.
तो जब प्रभुपाद जी आए तो जो हॉर्स राइडिंग करते हैं, 40 लोग ऐसे उन लोग ग्रीट के प्रभुपाद जी को।
On both sides, greeting Prabhupada. I mean, how is it possible? I'm just a guy, But with Prabhupada's mercy, you could do amazing things.
तो बोल रहे कि ये कैसे संभव है? ये प्रभुपाद जी की कृपा है।
I remember we tried to buy a huge container arrived from America with books printed in America, German books.
तो जो जर्मन के जो बुक्स थे वो अमेरिका में प्रिंट हुए थे प्रभुपाद जी के।
And so the company came and put this huge container, 40-foot container in front of our temple.
तो जो कंपनी थी वो आकर के 40 फुट का कंटेनर वो रख दिया मंदिर के सामने।
Then here are your books, but you have to, it's sealed. It's sealed by the custom. You have to go and talk to the custom officer.
तो उन्होंने उसको सील कर दिया था और कस्टम ऑफिसर जाके बात करना था उसको निकालने के लिए।
You understand? It's sealed. You can't open it.
तो सील कर दिया था, उसको आप खोल नहीं सकते थे।
Some seal. So I went to the custom officer
तो प्रभु जी कस्टमर ऑफिसर के पास गए
and I talked to him. I said, look, we don't have any money.
तो उन्होंने मुझसे बात करी कि मेरे पास कोई पैसा नहीं है।
These books are important.
ये बुक्स बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है।
They are delivering values to people.
तो ये बहुत सारे जीवन के जो वैल्यूज
In this material world, everybody wants things, but we give them values.
तो इस दुनिया में सब लोग वो चीजें चाहिए, वस्तुएं चाहिए, लेकिन हम वैल्यूज दे रहे हैं।
Come on, give us these books for free.
आओ हमें ये किताब का फ्री मिलेगा।
He said, I can't do it because I have to stamp them.
बोले वो मैं ये नहीं कर सकता।
I said, look away. I said to him, look away.
तो उन्होंने प्रोविजन उसी को देखने कहा।
He said, and then he said, well, take the stamp in your hand and I guide you. She was looking away. So I said, just take the stamp, and I took his hand. Done. I was so happy we didn't have to pay a penny. And so I looked well, I had a nice suit on, first class tie, everything. I dressed nice. So I thank this man very much. Just when I left his room, he said, now one question I have. How many people were in the back of this bus? 17.
17.
You cannot even imagine how 17 people fit in the back of VW. VW bus is not very big. It's not like a Ford bus. It's a small bus. We drove 17, one side, 17. So we went to the airport, and the boys went downstairs where the luggage was coming out, where people would come out, who came from the plane. So I went upstairs to the immigration, because I knew where the immigration was. So as soon as I arrived, I saw Prabhupada in immigration. He turned to me and he waved like this. And I made a photo of that. I still have that photo upstairs. That was the first time that I saw Prabhupada. There was nobody behind me, I was alone. He went like this. I was very emotional. I cried.
मैं रोने लग गया वहाँ
Very emotional.
पे। बहुत ज़्यादा इमोशनल है।
And I don't know if I told you that story before, because I could not understand Prabhupada's Bengali English very well.
तो प्रभु जी बताया कि मैं प्रभुपाद जी के बंगाली इंग्लिश को नहीं समझ पा रहा था।
He would speak Bengali English, like he would say, there are many Bharats. What is a Bharat? What is a Bharat? What is a Bharat?
भारत
Bharat.
बर्ड
There are many Bharats in the tree.
तो जैसे प्रभुपाद जी बोले थे कि बर्ड्स है तो मैं समझ नहीं पा रहा था ये बर्ड क्या है।
He means birds, you know.
He means birds. Birds मतलब पक्षी, बहुत सारे पक्षियाँ हैं ट्री में।
Prabhupada would say there are many Bharats, you know. So I could understand only maybe 60% of his lectures.
तो प्रभु जी बता रहे मैं खाली 60% की लेक्चर समझ पाता था।
So I listened to one lecture before we left for the airport.
तो प्रभु जी ने एक लेक्चर सुना था एयरपोर्ट जाने से पहले।
And then we went to the airport.
और हम एयरपोर्ट गए।
And then after we met Prabhupada, he went into the VIP lounge.
और एयरपोर्ट में भी प्रभु जी हमसे प्रभुपाद हमसे मिलने के बाद वीआईपी लाउंज में चले गए।
We had invited the media there. The press was there interviewing
वहाँ
Prabhupada.
पर प्रेस वाले मीडिया वाले लोग भी जो प्रभुपाद जी की इंटरव्यू ले रहे थे।
And so I was surprised. I could understand every word Prabhupada was saying.
तो प्रभु जी बहुत सरप्राइज थे कि वो लोग कैसे समझ पा रहे प्रभुपाद जी के सारे वर्ड्स को वो बोल रहे
And
थे।
then when we came back to the temple, let me just check. I checked the same tape that I listened in the morning. I understood only 70% or 60%. I could understand and from that moment on, I could understand every single word Prabhupada said.
तो प्रभु जी जब यहाँ मंदिर आए तब उन्होंने वापस उस टेप को सुना जो उन्होंने पहले सुना था। उस समय 60% समझे थे, अब वो एक वर्ड समझ पा रहे थे प्रभुपाद जी का।
It was amazing.
तो प्रभु जी को बड़ा आश्चर्य आया, मैं कैसे समझ गया प्रभुपाद जी
From
सारे
one
चीज़ें।
moment to another, Prabhupada's mercy, I could understand everything he said.
तो प्रभुपाद जी के कृपा से मैं सब कुछ समझने लग गया उसके बाद से।
And there's so many examples like that, how Prabhupada exhibited his mercy,
वैसे बहुत सारे लगा है प्रभुपाद जी ने कृपा बनाया।
his power, you know.
उनकी शक्ति है, चित्त शक्ति है।
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nite Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prithamine Nirvishesa Sunyavani Vasajani Sattari Namaste Saraswati Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Vihadita Karashita Prabhu Nityananda Vihadita Karashita Prabhu Nityananda Vihadita Karashita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premananda Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.
प्रभु की जय।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice lecture, nice experience. Your nice experience. Hare Krishna, Mama.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it was wonderful. And Prabhupada was there, wonderful things happened.